Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Munmun Bhattacharya. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Maldives President hold bilateral talks in New Delhi. Currency swap and other key agreements signed. RuPay card launched in Maldives. Prime Minister Narendra Modi marks 23 years in public office. PM's leadership applauded the world over for initiating defining schemes and bringing transformative changes. October 7 marks the first anniversary of the Hamas attack on Israel. PM Netanyahu pays tributes to victims of the attack, reiterates commitment to bring hostages home. First woman Indian Olympic gymnast Dipa announces her retirement at the age of 31. She is one of only 5 women in the world to have mastered the Produnova vault. India and Maldives have come out with a vision for comprehensive economic and maritime security partnership during the first official bilateral visit of the President of Maldives to India. This is a blueprint for future trajectory of India-Maldives partnership. Jessica Taneja reports from New Delhi.
A ceremonial welcome accorded to Maldives President Mohammad Muizzu by the President and Prime Minister of India at the forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. This was followed by President Muizzu's visit to Rajghat to pay homage to Mahatma Gandhi. Hours later, the visiting dignitary held talks with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi at Hyderabad House in New Delhi. In a special gesture, Prime Minister Modi hosted a banquet lunch in honor of President Muizzu. The Maldivian president is on his first official bilateral visit to India, months after attending the swearing-in ceremony of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Council of Ministers in June in New Delhi. The visit is important in the context of the traditionally strong bilateral relationship and India's role as a significant aid provider to the island nation.
मालदीव के संबंध सदियों पुराने हैं और भारत मालदीव का सबसे करीबी पड़ोसी और घनिष्ठ मित्र देश है। हमारी नेबरहुड फर्स्ट पॉलिसी और सागर विजन ने मालदीव का महत्वपूर्ण स्थान है इन दोनों में।
Democratic, prosperous and resilient Maldives is important for peace and stability in the Indian Ocean region. And India is an important partner in the maritime security domain due to our geographical proximity.
Several memoranda of understanding were signed to further strengthen the relationship between the two countries. A currency swap agreement was inked, as well as an MOU between India's National Raksha University and the Maldives' National College of Policing and Law Enforcement. Additionally, an MOU was signed between India's Central Bureau of Investigation and the Maldives' Anti-Corruption Commission to prevent and combat corruption. India launched RuPay card in Maldives. New runway of Honeymadhu International Airport in Maldives was inaugurated, and India handed over 700 social housing units built under Exim Bank's buyer credit facilities. Existing MOUs between India's National Judicial Academy and the Maldives' Judicial Service Commission on training and capacity building programs for Maldivian judicial officers, and between India and Maldives on cooperation in sports and youth affairs were also renewed. A blueprint for the future trajectory of the India-Maldives bilateral partnership called Vision for Comprehensive Economic and Maritime Security Partnership was issued on the occasion.
Document also aims to bring together the objectives for India's own development as have been set out under the Viksit Bharat 2047 plan, and Maldives' own action plan and objectives to become a developed country by 2040.
During his visit, President Muizzu will also travel to Mumbai and Bengaluru to engage with the business community and interact with the Maldivian diaspora. These visits aim to enhance investment ties and deepen economic cooperation between the two nations. Jessica Taneja's report for DD India.
And joining us now for Perspective is Veena Sikri, former Indian ambassador. Ambassador Sikri, welcome to DD India News Hour. Such a pleasure to have you. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has underscored the importance that India gives to Maldives under its Neighbourhood First policy and Vision Sagar. We heard him say that. He agreed to further assist Maldives in its developmental journey and priorities. So has India always been committed to the development of Maldives and stood by it in its tough times as first responder and during times of financial crisis as well?
Well, yes, I think that, the visit of President Muizzu is going so well, it has been so successful because A, it is comprehensive. It has covered a very, very large number of areas. And as explained by our Prime Minister, this is for both the Neighbourhood First policy and for security and growth in the region, the Sagar policy. And I think also it is very symbolic because we know that last year, soon after President Muizzu had taken over, there were so many issues which had come up, and there was the India out policy, there was the issue of so many security issues, there was the research ship or the Chinese spy ship to Maldives, and the request to remove all the Air Force personnel who were manning the aircraft. But it's amazing how in the last 1 year, all these issues have been responded to, have been tackled, have been discussed and overcome and solved to the mutual satisfaction of both countries and in the spirit of friendship and good neighborliness. I think this is an excellent example where no matter what the differences are, if you approach it with dialogue and diplomacy, in goodwill and good trust, anything can be overcome, and for the mutual benefit of both countries so that we move ahead. Now look at the agreements that have been agreed. The Rupee agreement, which is amazing because people can use this card over there in Maldives, and the currency swap agreement because Maldives is facing a foreign exchange crisis, and they, find that this will be very helpful to overcome it. The institutional linkages, look at the number of institutional linkages, between the CBI and its counterpart there, between the National Judicial Academy and its counterpart there, between the Youth Cooperation and its counterpart there. So many different institutional links have been developed that it's quite amazing to see how the people of Maldives from various professional areas will be able to visit India and see and learn and benefit from what is happening here. And similarly, our people will be able to go to the Maldives and build up their relationships there. And I think that, the way in which Maldives has responded positively even to India's national security concerns. They've recognized that, there are these national security concerns, and President Muizzu has spoken quite frankly, both about the fact that that they will be very conscious of looking after India's national security concerns. And he also said that, he did not mean anything about the India out remarks last year, and he was only talking about removing the defense personnel. And the aircraft have been gifted by India, the Dornier and the helicopters, and they will still be manned by Indian technical personnel, and that's going to go on. And an airport built by India has been inaugurated. The social housing units have been handed over, and all the other issues of mutual benefit on 30,000 Maldivian citizens. As you know, in Maldives, they are scattered over a large number of islands, small islands, which are quite distant from each other. But India has built sewage treatment projects and water projects to benefit 28 islands, about 30,000 people living on these islands. So the way in which the people-to-people aspect of the relationship has been looked after is quite significant, because it shows that ultimately it is a people-to-people relationship. And when the two leaders develop an understanding between each other, as it happened during this visit of President Muizzu, it really benefits the people in a very big way. And it shows that the interests of the people have to be paramount. Even last year, when President Muizzu had spoken about India out, it was the people of Maldives, the Tourist Association, their biggest industry association, they had spoken out and said, no, we want to be friends with India. We want their people to come here. And I think that, President Muizzu is listening to his own people, he's listening to the important imperatives of cooperation, and it's gone very well.
So are ties then on course for a brighter future, including economic cooperation, because you referred to the launch of the RuPay card, you referred to how India would want its tourists to benefit when they go to Maldives through the usage of RuPay card, for instance, and would want similar arrangements for Maldivian citizens here as well. So do you think that it's a brighter future ahead for the bilateral partnership?
Oh, definitely. I think it's a great success for India's neighborhood first foreign policy and for the importance of the, the Indian Ocean region as such, because Maldives does play a very significant role in the Indian Ocean security parameters. And certainly, if you have a good understanding with Maldives, it will benefit both countries. So I think we can look forward to a positive future to implement all these decisions. The vision, the shared vision that has been agreed upon at this time, if we focus on implementation, we focus on early implementation to the benefit of both peoples, we will see a great future ahead. And it's a great lesson, I think, to tell all the world how India is deeply committed to the neighborhood first foreign policy and is ready to overcome any differences, any different points of view, any concerns of the neighbor countries, because we do feel that in our neighborhood, India and the other countries have to grow together. India's growth cannot be complete without the growth of our partnerships, and we want stability, prosperity, and democracy in our neighborhood so that we can all grow together for the benefit of each other. And I think this visit is a very good example of this mutually beneficial relationship.
Yeah. Coming to the defense and security domain, Ambassador, both sides agreed to refit Maldives Coast Guard ship Horavi by India free of cost. We had gifted that some time back to Maldives. The vision statement uses the phrase, and I quote, a trusted and dependable partner for India in this context. Now, it says that both sides will share expertise, augment capabilities, undertake joint cooperative measures as per the needs and requirements of Maldives. India will provide its forces defense platforms and assets. The focus is largely on maintaining maritime safety and security in the region in this context. And would you say that such cooperation will help in building mutual strategic trust between the two sides going forward?
Yes, I think this building of mutual trust and recognizing that both countries are strategically important to each other. This has been an important outcome of the visit. I think what you said about the Coast Guard ship refitting is very significant, because Coast Guard vessels and Maldives' capacity for protection through the Coast Guard vessels is very important for drug smuggling, for security factors, for people who try to come in, because Maldives has such a huge maritime boundary, and it's very difficult for them also to man it and to guard it equally. So India has shown its willingness to cooperate with them, and this ship was gifted by India. We're going to refit it. I'm sure in the future there'll be more such cooperation and more benefits that India is willing to give through the credit line, through grants, and through other methodologies, so that Maldives is able to fulfill its big role in the Indian Ocean area and in its relationship with India. And I think that Maldives, the president's own decision to come to India at this time and have an extensive visit, he's going to visit Agra and Mumbai and Bengaluru, it's good. It shows that he is interested in overcoming any difficulties and carrying forward.
We'll leave it at that. We also know that a high-level core group will be monitoring the implementation of the new vision that has been unveiled. Ambassador, you're somebody who keeps a keen eye on the region. Thank you so much for joining us with your point of view.
Thank you. Bye.
Time for a breather now, and coming up next, counting of votes for Haryana and Jammu and Kashmir assembly elections to take place in India on Tuesday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi marks 23 years in public office. And a boost to innovation, entrepreneurship and self-reliance in India's defense sector.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says, supply creates its own demand, between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Munmun Bhattacharya. Counting of votes for the recently concluded Haryana and Jammu and Kashmir Assembly elections in India will start at 8 a.m. India time on Tuesday. Here's more on how the polling went and the main contenders in the fray.
Within months of India going to the polls and electing its new government, the key Indian regions of Jammu and Kashmir and Haryana held elections to elect members of their legislative assemblies. With counting of votes on Tuesday. For the big day, the Election Commission of India has made robust arrangements across both provinces. For India's picturesque union territory of Jammu and Kashmir, the elections came 5 years after the abrogation of Article 370, marking the beginning of a new era of change. During its three-phase polls, there was an overall voter turnout of 63.88%, reflecting the enthusiasm of J&K's public to engage in the democratic process.
This is the Sher-e-Kashmir International Conference Centre, one of the 20 counting centres which have been put in place in Jammu and Kashmir for the counting of votes on Tuesday. 90 seats in 3 phases went to polls here, and all the 90 seats will be counted. And for these counting of seats and votes, all the necessary security and other arrangements have been put in place. We've been informed that there's a three-tier security system involving central paramilitary forces as well as state armed police and state police.
Key political parties hopeful of securing a majority include Alliance of Indian National Congress and National Conference, Bharatiya Janata Party or the BJP, and People's Democratic Party or the PDP. With Tuesday's vote counting for 90 constituencies, the political fate of 873 candidates in Jammu and Kashmir will be revealed.
What kind of confidence do you have in terms of how the BJP will fare?
Yeah, we are very much sure because we have worked for the people here, especially in Kashmir. So we are very much sure we will make an independent government here in this union territory of Jammu and Kashmir.
In the northern Indian state of Haryana, voting for its 90 assembly seats concluded last Saturday. Voters, both young and old, from all walks of life turned out in large numbers, bringing the overall voter turnout to 65.65%. Counting will determine the political fate of 1,031 candidates. Key political parties eyeing to secure a majority include Bharatiya Janata Party, Indian National Congress, Aam Aadmi Party, Alliance of Indian National Lok Dal, and the Bahujan Samaj Party, and Jan Nayak Janata Party and Azad Samaj Party's alliance. All eyes are now on the clock as the process is set to begin at 8 a.m. IST on Tuesday with the opening of the EVMs. With inputs from Gautam Roy, Mihir Makhuri reporting for DD India.
As Prime Minister Narendra Modi marks 23 years in public office on Monday, his tenure is being hailed for introducing transformative reforms and programs both in his home state of Gujarat and across India. Take a look at PM Modi's remarkable journey.
Narendra Damodar Das Modi.
A moment that changed not just Gujarat, but the entire nation. An oath was taken, rooted in the spirit of nation first and selfless service. From his early days as a BJP worker in 1985 to becoming a global leader, Narendra Modi's journey began with his historic appointment as Gujarat's Chief Minister in 2001. For 13 years, from 2001 to 2014, Modi's governance model was centered on economic growth and social welfare. From Sujalam Sufalam to Jal Jeevan, from Nirmal Gujarat to Swachh Bharat, Modi expanded these transformative programs across the country. In 2014, Narendra Modi took on the monumental responsibility of leading India as Prime Minister. One of his flagship initiatives, Digital India, aimed to turn the nation into a digitally empowered society. With Make in India, he laid the foundation for India to become a global manufacturing hub. Through reforms like GST and ease of doing business, Modi revitalized India's economy, fostering growth and innovation. India's standing on the world stage surged under PM Modi's leadership. From the country's achievements in digitalization and infrastructure to hosting the G20 summit, India became a leader in global recovery and climate action. Modi's vision elevated India's status as a Vishwabandhu, or a friend to the world. Global leaders have often shown admiration for Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, reflecting his growing influence on the global stage. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese called Modi the boss,
Prime Minister Modi is the boss,
highlighting his leadership and stature during Modi's visit to Australia. Similarly, Papua New Guinea's Prime Minister James Marape touched Modi's feet as a sign of deep respect, symbolizing the strong bonds between their nations. These gestures underscore Modi's increasing recognition as a key player in international diplomacy and his role in shaping global alliances. With an unwavering commitment to serving 1.4 billion Indians, Narendra Modi's leadership has been transformative. From reshaping Gujarat to transforming India, his pioneering initiatives have grown into mass movements, ushering in a new era of unprecedented development. Tripti Tripathi's report for DD India. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh launched Aditi 2.0 challenges and Disc 12 to foster innovation, entrepreneurship and self-reliance in the defence sector. The second edition of Aditi, or Accelerating Towards Atmanirbharta or Self-Reliance in Defence, features 19 challenges in the fields of AI, quantum technology, military communication and anti-drone systems. While Disc 12 presents 41 challenges across UAVs, AI, networking and communication domains. On this occasion, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh stressed on the role of the private sector in view of the changing geopolitical dynamics.
भारत के पब्लिक सेक्टर और प्राइवेट सेक्टर दोनों की जो सिनर्जी है वो पहले के कंपैरिजन में काफी मजबूत हुई है, जिसका सबसे बड़ा उदाहरण डेफ करेक्ट का यह फोरम है। इनोवेटर्स, एंटरप्रेन्योर्स, साइंटिस्ट, स्टार्टअप आदि का जो वाइब्रेंट और डायनामिक इकोसिस्टम है, इसमें जितनी सरकार की भूमिका है उतनी ही भूमिका प्राइवेट सेक्टर की भी है। आईडेक्स ने डिफेंस इंडिया स्टार्टअप चैलेंज यानी डिस्क के माध्यम से हमारे स्टार्टअप्स और एमएसएमईज को रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट क्षेत्र में और अधिक इन्वॉल्व किया।
Two-man tactical aerial vehicle for high altitude is a big challenge in a war-like situation, but an Indian company is working to find a solution. It will help logistical infrastructure to become more agile and flexible for critical supply chains. DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo speaks to the co-founder of the company, which has been awarded by the Government of India. Take a listen.
The role of private sector is increasingly getting very important because of the changing geopolitics across the globe. Your company has been selected and has won this award. So how important is this for you and what is your speciality?
So we are from Sagar Defense Engineering. Our specialty is unmanned systems and solution is what we build. We are a robotics company working in this field. So the technology we have created is called Genesis boat in a block platform. It is platform agnostic technology and it is patented. So it can work across various domains including surface, subsurface, aerial and land system. The current challenge, Aditi challenge, is one of its kind because it gives a grant of quantum of 25 crore rupees to develop and work on the critical and emerging technology in the deep tech. So this is one of its kind project and we have won this challenge, so it will enable us and team to build more and more technology which will be used by the Indian Armed Forces.
So in a layman's language, what is this technology all about?
So the current challenge is all about building a two-personal tactical aerial vehicle which will work in high altitude region. So that is very critical tech because the transportation at that high altitude is very difficult, and only few crafts at different timings will be able to fly at these high altitude regions. So it is very critical nature because transportation at that high altitude needs to be done, and there should be a technology which will enable the user to do it. So we will be making this technology which will enable the user to do it.
So there you heard from Sagar Defence, they are making a system which is going to be very, very crucial and helpful, especially in the high altitude regions. With cameraman Gaurav Giri in Delhi, this is Vishal Beristu for DD India.
India's Minister of External Affairs, Dr. S. Jaishankar, held a meeting with Argentinian Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Trade and Worship, Diana Mondino, in New Delhi. They discussed ways to expand their bilateral trade and investment partnership, including in the sectors of energy transition, minerals, health, agri-technology, defense and technology. During the talks, Dr. Jaishankar stated that the meeting highlights the growing opportunities for collaboration driven by strong market mechanisms and a robust digital framework. South Asian country Sri Lanka, under its development policy financing program, has secured a $200 million package from the International Development Association of the World Bank Group. The agreement was signed on Monday between Sri Lanka's Ministry of Finance and the World Bank officials in the presence of Sri Lankan President Anura Kumar Dasanaike. This financing is part of the World Bank's continued commitment to assist Sri Lanka in its comprehensive reform agenda. AccessAbility's Expo 2024 commenced on Monday at the Dubai World Trade Center with over 250 exhibitors from 50 countries showcasing the latest assistive technologies and rehabilitation practices for people with disabilities. India is participating in the Expo through its Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, represented by the Artificial Limbs Manufacturing Corporation of India, a public sector undertaking under the ministry. Alimco has set up a comprehensive stall featuring state-of-the-art equipment catering to the needs of persons with disabilities.
We are here for Accessibility Expo for showcasing Alimco's diverse products and the expertise over more than 5 decades of serving more than 6 million people. And it's very noteworthy that in the past 1 decade, we have served more than 3 million people, which is a landmark achievement for Alimco as well as for the country in serving the poor disabled people under the different schemes of Government of India.
The AccessAbility's Expo, the largest of its kind in the Middle East, Africa and the Indian subcontinent, offers over 4,500 assistive technologies globally. Products empowering individuals with physical, visual, auditory, intellectual disabilities and autism are on display, with many exhibited for the first time in West Asia.
We are here at AccessAbility Expo in Dubai, and we are having a stall. Basically, we are looking to start a center here, mainly for 18 plus adults, neurodiverse adults, wherein we'll be giving the vocational training, and we kind of make them employable, and then slowly, gradually to set up a residential facility for adults. What after rest? It will be a solution for what after rest. So that's what basically we are looking at here.
Let's now take a look at some of the stories making news around the world. The ASEAN Senior Officials Meeting, or SOM, took place in Laos capital Vientiane on Monday. The senior officials discussed a number of ASEAN's key issues, ASEAN's external relations, and also reviewed preparations for the forthcoming 44th and 45th ASEAN summits and related summits. At least 30 immigrants, including 3 toddlers, were rescued and taken to the Gran Canarias port by Spanish Coast Guard while trying to reach the Canary island of Gran Canaria in 2 different boats. Still to come on DD India News Hour, An analysis on 1 year of war in West Asia triggered by the Hamas attack on Israel on the 7th of October last year. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Munmun Bhattacharya. Tensions in West Asia have sharply escalated at a time when 1 year has gone by since the October 7 attack by Hamas on Israel. Israeli military jets targeted Hezbollah's facilities in Beirut, signaling a broader conflict involving Gaza, Israel and Lebanon. As Israel intensifies its air and ground operations against Hamas, the group claims to have launched missiles at Tel Aviv, injuring 2 civilians. Amidst the violence, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu commemorated the day by honoring victims of the past year's attack. With humanitarian conditions in Gaza worsening and protests erupting worldwide, the prospect of a peaceful resolution still appears elusive. Syed Absarul Hassan reports.
Tensions in West Asia has escalated, particularly involving Gaza, Israel and Lebanon. Israeli military fighter jets struck targets in Beirut belonging to Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters and weapons storage facilities on the anniversary of the Hamas October 7 attack. Israel has stepped up its air and ground offensives in Gaza too, launching more attacks on Hamas and command posts. For its part, Hamas claims it has struck Israel's commercial capital, Tel Aviv, with a missile salvo, setting off sirens in central Israel. 2 people were lightly injured, according to the Israeli ambulance services. On the October 7 anniversary, Netanyahu visited Jerusalem's Iron Sword Monument along with the Jerusalem's mayor Moshe Leon. He lit a candle at the monument.
On this day, in this place and in many places in our country, we remember our fallen, our hostages whom we are obliged to return, and our heroes who fell in defense of the homeland and the land. We went through a terrible massacre a year ago, and we stood up as a people, as lions, a people that rises like a lioness.
Israelis across the country blared sirens and took a minute to stand in silence on Monday to mark the beginning of a Hamas-led attack on Israelis' border communities a year ago. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer called for diplomacy and an immediate ceasefire.
The 7th of October was the bloodiest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. I utterly condemn the terrorist actions of Hamas.
On the other hand, Palestinians are facing the dire humanitarian conditions as the Gaza Strip has been flattened in the battle between Hamas and Israeli forces. Protests and demonstrations supporting both Palestinians and Israelis are taking place globally, highlighting the international community's divided opinion on the conflict. While speaking to DD India, Consul General of Israel to Mumbai, Kobi Shoshani, stated that Israel is more secure today, but added that there is a long way to go.
Definitely, but afterwards, Israel showed to the world and to herself that we are willing to fight, we are willing to pay the price, but we will bring security to the state of Israel and to the citizen.
It has been 1 year since the conflict began and there is no ceasefire in sight in West Asia. The conflict has now widened to Lebanon, and Iran's missile attacks in retaliation for its leaders killed in Israeli attacks have only added fuel to the fire. The ongoing tensions among Israel, Gaza and Lebanon continue to pose significant challenges for peace in the region. As violence escalates, the humanitarian crisis deepens and the prospect for dialogue seems increasingly distant. The world watches closely as the situation evolves, hoping for a resolution that prioritizes human rights and security for all involved. Syed Absarul Hassan for DT India.
It has been a year since terrorist group Hamas attacked southern Israel on October 7, killing around 1,200 people and taking about 250 people as hostages. And that was the beginning of a spiraling conflict in West Asia. Jessica Taneja reports.
In 2023, Israel was grappling with deep-rooted internal divisions, which were centered on the proposed judicial reforms. This tense domestic situation was abruptly overshadowed on October 7, 2023. Crossing the border from Gaza, Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups launched a large-scale and a brutal attack on Israel. The violence marked the beginning of one of the region's most devastating wars, with militants killing and also taking hostages. Nearly a year later, the war has claimed thousands of lives on both sides. The Gaza Strip has been left in ruins, and most of its residents, nearly 2 million, are now homeless. In Israel, over 200,000 people have been displaced. They've been forced to flee their homes near Gaza and in the north, which is close to Lebanon. The conflict now threatens to spread into Lebanon and potentially across the broader region. Hamas-led attack had abruptly shifted Israel's focus away from the internal political debates about judicial reforms and political divisions that had resurfaced as the war continued. Some senior military officers also resigned. They took responsibility for the security disaster of October 7. On the other hand, the Palestinian demand for statehood remained unresolved. Efforts were made to reform the Palestinian Authority, to restore its legitimacy. Even diplomatic attempts were undertaken to support the rebuilding of Gaza. But nothing could prevent the widespread destruction or the ongoing loss of life in the region. The conflict has had severe economic crisis. It's affected trade and commerce not only in Israel and Gaza, but across the entire region. Look at this World Bank report, for instance. The number of people facing severe food insecurity skyrocketed by more than 200 million. That's between the year 2019 and 2021. And if this war continues, analysts fear that it could further exacerbate the crisis. The global rise in food prices, already driven by the Russia-Ukraine conflict, has worsened the situation. And the full scale of the impact of this particular war is yet to be measured. The rising energy prices, another result of the war, is one of the bigger concerns. Now, the Middle East is the world's most critical energy-producing regions in the world. According to the 2023 Statistical Review of the World Energy, the region holds 48% of the world's proven oil reserves. In fact, in 2022, it produced 33% of the world's oil. The US Energy Information Administration also reported that in 2018, 1/5 of the world's oil supply passed through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this is a key choke point for global energy. If this prolonged fighting continues, expect a surge in oil prices that will affect you. Look at what the conflicts in past have demonstrated. Iraq's invasion of Kuwait in 1990, for example, led to a 105% increase in oil prices within a span of 3 months. In 1973 and 74, remember the Arab embargo that caused a 52% price hike. And then in 1978, the Iranian Revolution led to a 48% increase. Factor this, the International Monetary Fund reported that the cost of shipping a container from China to the Mediterranean Sea has quadrupled since the war began. It was earlier $1,000. Now it's $4,000. Any Israeli strike that disrupts Iran's 1.7 million barrels per day of oil exports would send shockwaves through the global energy markets. And if Iran retaliates by targeting other oil exporters in the region, the consequences are unimaginable. The conflict between Israel and Hamas has expanded beyond a localized affair. It's drawn in other regional powers. It has raised fears of a wider war. Several factors contributed to this instability. The US continued supporting Israel through arms shipments, Hezbollah's refusal to stop attacking Israel without a ceasefire in Gaza, and the repeated failure of ceasefire negotiations. Even though recently the US and France attempted to broker a 21-day ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel, but the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, rejected that proposal outright. Hezbollah, which frames its attack as support for Gaza, is unlikely to agree to a ceasefire as long as Israeli operations in Gaza continue. Israel, on the other hand, is bolstered by its military success. It shows no signs of backing down. Hezbollah has so far avoided escalating the conflict into a full-scale war. However, the involvement of these regional players does raise concerns that the conflict could spread further across the Middle East. And as this conflict drags on, there remains no clear end in sight. The region faces increasing uncertainty as violence and instability continue to escalate. The critical question remains, how long can the region edge towards a full-scale war before stepping back becomes impossible? As US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin once asked, how does this end? So far, there's no clear answer. And the war continues to inflict devastation, not only on Gaza and Israel, but on the wider region, with significant humanitarian, economic, and political consequences around the globe.
So there you heard Jessica saying that for how long can we edge on a full-scale war in West Asia? Well, we'll take that further with Major General Sudhakar Ji. He is a strategic and defense expert. General, such a pleasure to have you on DD India. 1 year since the Hamas attack on Israel triggered an armed conflict in West Asia, tensions threatening to escalate in the region with no end in sight.
Yeah, Munmun, good evening. Thank you for getting me to your show. I must compliment Doordarshan and you in particular for excelling, giving an outstanding presentation in the show itself. And I would say all the participants then deserve to be complimented. As regards your question, let me just, if you allow me, dilate the issue into 3 different roundels. Some issues pertain to the global level, some regional level, and some local level. At the global level, the stakeholders are far and many. Talk about Israel, talk about the USA, talk about France, talk about UK. But the core issue is regional, and the center of the core issue is actually Israel and the Hamas, or if I may extend this particular expression to say Iran. Now, what is it that has happened? In past 1 year, there have been lots of losses of life, but let's not be unmindful of the fact that this is the 3rd turning point in the 21st century. When I say about 3rd turning point, what I mean is the first turning point, as far as I'm concerned, was nothing other than the Russia invading into Ukraine, wherein the geopolitical status of the global order was challenged for the first time in 21st century. It was followed by this particular conflict when everything was going on smoothly. Suddenly on 7th of October, this happens. This happens with a characteristic change or the paradigm shift in the warfare, wherein technology overtakes the normal, standard, conventional threat or the attack by an attacker against the defender. And when I say this, what I mean is that the electromagnetic spectrum was blacked out between 6:30 to 6:50 a.m. on 7th of October 2023. And during this phase, a multi-dimensional attack had taken place, perhaps for the first time, to my understanding and research. Such an attack was undertaken by none other than a non-state actor. It has never been heard of in the military science ever. And that actually became the second turning point. The third turning point, again, was driven by the technology, was basically, I would say, the pager and the ICOM attack, wherein the leadership at different levels of Hezbollah, they were addressed by none other than the Mossad of Israel. So what is it that I'm trying to highlight? I'm trying to highlight that in 21st century, when every common man or citizen of the world is looking towards a kind of a liberal democratic value to prevail, rules-based order to prevail, on the contrary, what we get is actually violence all over. The whole world is polarized. Every country, not seems, is actually militarized, and there is violence at every place, starting from Central Europe to Middle East to Indo-Pacific. So where does it take us to? The center of gravity of the Israel versus Hamas has shifted from Gaza Strip to the north of Israel and south of Lebanon. The offensive is on, ground offensive against the Hezbollah, while the earlier standoff attack used to be between 3 to 6 kilometers by the standoff weapons by Israel across the border into the enemy territory. These days, post 1st of October, the Iran missile attack against Israel, the range of the weapon systems appears to have got extended beyond 6 kilometers to 28 to 30 kilometers, meaning they are striking those objectives deep in the enemy territory of Lebanon. So isn't there an end in sight? The end is going to be in sight, as per my assessment, Munmun, from when the whole world exhausts or completes its resources, they are left with nothing. Has that stage come now? Perhaps the turning point is going to be the 5th of November. One timeline was the 7th, where the anniversary is being observed over the world over. Second one is the 5th of November, when the election outcomes will be disclosed or announced in the world, depending on the leadership. While one is aware of the fact that Donald Trump and Kamala Harris both are within the lobby of the Jews and the Yehudis, what decision they will take, whether to carry on with the offensive or to bring a ceasefire, thereafter go in for two-nation theory, is a matter of time for the global order to decide. In my take is that the attack against Iran is also not to be ruled out. The attack can take in form of against the oil rigs, against the top leadership, against the military infrastructure. Also, the choke point at Bandar Abbas or the Strait of Hormuz can be put under extreme check by the Iran, wherein the 31% of the oil, gas, and the energy security of the world order is passing Persian Gulf towards outside that particular area. Back to you, Munmun.
Right. I think it's been a very comprehensive answer, so we can leave it at that. The way you've characterized the present situation and what you expect in future, you've said that the timeline of the 5th of November will be extremely significant, because that, of course, is voting day or polling day in the US presidential election, and we expect the new president to take office in January next year, and then we would know what the future trajectory could well be, considering the clout that the United States has as a superpower. We'll leave it at that. Thank you, General, for joining us with your views.
Thank you, Munmun.
Let's now take a look at some other stories making news. India's Union Minister Jitendra Singh said that $10,000 million have been earmarked for venture fund to space startups. Speaking at an event in New Delhi, the minister said that the number of space startups has gone up from in fact to more than 1.5 lakh in the last 10 years, bringing India to number 3 in the world ecosystem. India's Ministry of Textiles organized a special event in New Delhi to mark World Cotton Day 2024. Minister for Textiles Giriraj Singh attended the event and emphasized India's role in promoting eco-friendly garments and fabrics, underscoring the country's commitment to sustainability in the textile industry. Countries all around the world are grappling with hurricanes, flash floods and landslides. In the United States, Hurricane Milton rapidly strengthened into a Category 4 storm and moving towards Florida population centers. In Bosnia, flash floods washed away houses and left a trail of devastation in which 19 people died. More in this report.
Survivors of deadly Hurricane Helene along the Florida coast were ordered to evacuate again on Monday as US authorities warned another major storm that would cause devastating damage. Hurricane Milton intensified as Category 4 hurricane on Monday and put Florida once again on edge, which is still reeling from devastating Hurricane Helene. The center predicted Milton would approach Florida's west coast on Wednesday. Florida governor declared a state of emergency in 51 counties.
Milton is now a hurricane. These are obviously local decisions about evacuation, but you have a storm where the range of possibilities are basically the entire Florida peninsula on the Gulf Coast. The storm's going to be powerful enough that it potentially generate major storm surge. So I would anticipate anybody in like barrier islands or those low-lying areas are probably going to have an evacuation.
Officials issued mandatory evacuation orders for parts of Pasco County and Anna Maria Island in Tampa. At the same time, stormy weather has also threatened to delay the launch of Europe's Hera spacecraft, which is scheduled to blast off on Monday. In Bosnia, flash floods wash away houses and left a trail of devastation. At least 19 people died in the floods across two of Bosnia's cantons in the center and south of the country. Rescue teams from Bosnia's neighbors and European Union countries on Monday were joining efforts to clear the rubble and find people still missing from floods and landslides. Meanwhile, Sri Lankan Meteorological Department has issued heavy rainfall warning with thunder showers at most places in the island on Monday. The department also added that the rainfall will occur in western provinces and in Gale, Matara, Mannar and Mullaitivu districts over the next 24 hours. On the other hand, monsoon has departed in India, but the rain process still occurs in northeast and south India. The Indian Meteorological Department on Monday issued a yellow alert for Assam, Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and among others. The weather agency has predicted heavy rainfall in these states. Aman Kumar Himanshu's report for DD India.
India's President Draupadi Murmu will confer the 70th National Film Awards in a ceremony at Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi on Tuesday. Veteran actor Mithun Chakravarti will be conferred with the Dada Saheb Phalke Award, India's highest honour in cinema. Among the films released in 2022, the best films will also be awarded. More details in this report.
70th National Film Awards ceremony will take place on October 8th in New Delhi. The list of winners were announced in August and the National Award will be conferred by the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, at the Vigyan Bhavan. Renowned actor Mithun Chakravarti will be honoured with the prestigious Dada Saheb Phalke Award. Among the films released in 2022, the best films have been selected for the National Film Awards. Rishabh Shetty won the Best Actor Award for the Kannada film Kantara, which also received the award for Best Popular Film for providing wholesome entertainment. The Malayalam film Atham received the award for the Best Feature Film. Manoj Bajpayee showcased his acting powers and received a special mention for Gulmohar, which was declared the Best Hindi Film. Nithya Menon received the Best Actress Award for a performance in the film Tiruchitrambalam. Mansi Parekh was honoured as Best Actress for the Gujarati film Kutch Express, while the award for Best Costume Designer was given to Best Film promoting national, social and environmental values. Suraj Barjatia won the Best Actor Award for the film Uchai, and the Best Supporting Actress Award went to Neena Gupta for the same film. Pawan Malhotra received the Best Supporting Actor Award for the Haryani film Fauja. Ponniyin Selvan won awards for Best Cinematography, Sound Design, Background Music and Best Film. Preetham received the award for Best Music Direction for Brahmastra Part 1, while Arijit Singh was recognized as the Best Male Playback Singer. The award for Best Non-Feature Film went to Ayana, directed by Siddhant Sareen. The award for Best Book on Cinema was given to Kishore Kumar, The Ultimate Biography, written by Anuradha Bhattacharya and Parthiv Dhar. These beautiful stories from India have received this national honour, establishing a dimension of success for Indian cinema. Bureau Report, DD India.
And time now for all the sports action. Indian gymnast Dipa has announced her official retirement from professional competition on Monday. After giving 25 years to the sport, Dipa, a prominent and celebrated figure in the world of gymnastics, decided to take a step back due to the physical demands of the sport on her body. She is the first woman gymnast from India to compete at the Olympics, where she finished 4th in the vault event at the 2016 Rio Olympics. India is all decked up for its autumn festival Durga Puja, also known as Durgotsav. It is considered as one of the most auspicious and sacred festivals in India. Our correspondent Subina Roy tells us the tale of the artists who came to Assam from West Bengal to prepare Durga Puja idols during the colonial era.
Just round the corner, I'm here at Shilpi Pal & Company in Dibrugarh, where the artists are giving final touches to Ma Durga and her children. Durga Utsav in India is mainly celebrated in Bihar, West Bengal, Odisha and Jharkhand during the Navratri and culminates on Dashami, that is Dashera. These artists have come all over from Coach Bihar during the festive season and prepare the majestic idols starting from Ganesh Puja to Kali Puja. The Shilpi Pal & Company started nearly 100 years ago when Uttam Pal's grandfather had come all the way from Calcutta on invitation of the Britishers to prepare the idol of Ma Durga at the tea gardens of Dibrugarh and nearby districts. Since then, late Janaki Nath Pal decided to stay in Assam and prepare the idols of Ma Durga. Today, his second generation continues to follow the sacred tradition of sculpting Ma Durga and also employ more than 20 people.
It must be around 70 years or more. That first my grandfather, then my father, and now I have been performing this puja.
The Pals have become a living tradition of Durga Puja, enriching its rich cultural heritage. Recently, Durga Utsav received the distinction of being named a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage in 2021. However, its tradition continues to be a very old, dating back to when the Britishers lived in India and accepted Indian culture as much as the Indians do. With Durga Puja just round the corner, the final touches are being given to Ma Durga, who is worshipped in Durga Puja. And you can see how Ma Durga and her children are being beautifully adorned by the artisans and the artists here in Dibrugarh. With DDK Dibrugarh team, Subina Roy, DD India.
That's all in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do share your thoughts with us, the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Anun Bhattacharya. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.